Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing, my Exhale Breathe family? Welcome to Exhale Breathe channels, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. How y'all doing? Instagram, I'm sorry. I be forgetting about Instagram. Well, good to see everyone. Talk to everyone. I wasn't on here last weekend. My apologies. Um, Needed a break. Went to a family reunion, you know, trying to reconnect um, to life, you know. Um, and just needed, like, like I've said before, this me sharing my story, my journey, my pain and trauma can be overwhelming. And sometimes you just need to woosah. Um, and so that's what happened last weekend. So, but we're back. I'm back. Ready. So I hope y'all are too. Um, the last video I left off on, well, I talked about being a teenager, how it was worse than being a little girl, and the things that I endured um, as a teen. And also I wanted to speak to the young ladies specifically because I want them to understand that lying about your age can put you in situations and predicaments that you're not ready for. And so and then I left off with entering my first relationship with my first husband. And that's where I left off. I met my first husband through my little brother. Um, Officially. I mean, I would see him all the time riding up and down the street, at the store, and he would try to get my attention, but he got my attention through my little brother. And when I met him, I was 16. And I know I've kind of shared a little bit about that in a previous video. He was persistent. He just wouldn't stop, and he was using my brothers or whatever to get to me. And finally, I took the bait, and we ended up dating. The funny thing about that relationship was like all the signs. I know a lot of people talk about red signs and red flags and all these things, but I just really want people to understand that what's a red flag for you may not be a red flag for the next person, because everybody red flags are different. That's number one. Also, what may be a red flag to most people may be something normal or considered normal for a trauma filled person. And so, me being able to look back on it, yeah, now I know, okay, that wasn't good, like I seen all the red flags, like we dating and all the chicks, because again, he's older. He's 14 years older than me. And so um he would have me around everybody, and I would get so much hatred, like the the females couldn't stand me. It was always something. And it was more because um they wanted to understand why he wanted me versus them, because they was really around his age range, right? Um and so it started early, wasn't a lot of real I'm sorry, some caught my attention. I apologize for that. It was, I should have known. Like, it was one of those things. But then as time progressed, um it seemed fine. Like, he was doing what needed to be done. He was showing up. And then I happened to get into it with my mama's husband. And we stayed into it because he was real disrespectful. He was very reckless at the mouth. Like, he didn't have a problem with calling me out my name, or any female for that matter. He was just really disrespectful as a grown man to young women and things like that. And so me and him will always get into it. And for people that knows me, like I said, I have one sister, one biological sister, and I have three brothers. And I don't have to talk to them. I don't have to see them. I don't have to be close to them. But you bet not mess with them. Like, leave my siblings alone. Like, I will come for you. Okay. And that particular day, that's what happened. He was messing with my sister, calling her out her name. Me and my sister are 2 years apart, 2 or 3 years apart. But he was messing with her, calling her out her name early in the morning while we trying to get ready for school. And of course I intervened because I'm gonna always um do that. Um Me and him get into it, and it ended up being a physical altercation where me and him actually ended up fighting. Yes, my mom was in the house, and of course, she took his side. So when I left for school, I called my first husband. He came, picked me up, dropped me off at school. He picked me up from school, and I didn't go back home. I went to his house. Um, of course, me and my grandmother were really, really close. And if no one knew anything, she would know it. So I would always tell her things. Like, so I called her, told her where I was, explained the situation. The only thing about that, looking back, that I don't agree with and wish would have happened differently is that she would have made me come to her house. She wouldn't have let me stay with this grown man. at 16. But she was like, just make sure you call me, you let me know you're okay, and all these things. And I did. And I was going to school, and then one day I go to school and I'm not feeling good. And we had nurses that couldn't do pregnancy tests and all that stuff. And I went, and that lady told me I was pregnant. I was devastated. I was I I'm like, my life is in such a mess. But then on the flip side, he gave me something to look forward to. And so of course the first person I called with the news was my grandmother. And she really was like, okay, well, now, you there with him, you pregnant by him, you know, just keep me up to date. And like I said, I did up until the physical abuse started. But let's back up. Again, he was 14 years older than me. So at 16, he was 30. No, I take that back. He was 16 years older than me. So he was 32. And he had a baby on the way that I didn't know nothing about already. The chick lived maybe 7 minutes away from the house he moved me in. She knew about the house. She would pop up, act the fool, like, yeah. But she was pregnant. And I had no idea until she showed up at the house one day. He wasn't there. I opened the door, and it was just a big mess. At this point, I hadn't met no one in his family. Um, so after I found out I was pregnant, and he found out, he told some of his families, his sisters primarily, and one of them was, she came over and we talked, and she was the person that I would go to, and then I met the oldest sister, and then me and her clicked, and then it was, it seemed to be okay with them at that point in time. And then the abuse started. And the abuse started because I have questions. Like, who is this chick that's pregnant by you? Why I didn't get that information? Or why is these different females popping up here? Or why you're not coming home at a decent hour? Or not at all? Where were you at all night? The things that you would ask if you're in a relationship with someone and their behavior is not conducive to being in a relationship with you. And he didn't like it. It was a problem for him. He felt like he was grown. He was the man. He was paying the bills. And I don't have no business asking no fucking questions because he is the man. And he the one taking care of everything. And honestly, at that particular time in my life, he was doing all the things that I've never seen a man really do. besides my granddad. And my granddad wasn't really a good man either, but he would go to work and pay them bills. And so, you know, when you grow up with the mindset of long as they paying the bills, you don't have nothing to say. I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I still can't. You can pay every single bill, do every freaking thing, but you're not gonna mistreat me and mishandle me. I'm gonna question it. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna let you know how I feel. And if you got a problem with that, I'm sorry. Well, he did, which in turn turned into physical abuse. Um, it started with, choking me, holding me down because he knew I didn't like it. Um, and he had long nails, so when he would choke me, his nail print would be in my neck. I used to have to wear turtlenecks and stuff to school to try to cover up all the bruises on my neck. Um, then, I ended up finding out through my uncle wife that he was a pimp. So, like, then all the things started to make sense. Like he would dress up in suits, I'll stay clean, sharper than a clap doctor, baby. And I used to always wonder, like, why he always dressing up at night to go out, you know? Well, I found out because he was a pimp and he would go to clubs and da. So at this point in my mind, at 16, because I'm still 16 at this point, um, I'm pregnant. Where am I gonna go? What am I gonna do? What choices do I have? And I didn't have many. So I found myself dealing with all of the disrespect, all of the abuse, all of the neglect, all the things. And we would talk, and I made the mistake of sharing with him what my dad did. And he used it. He used it against me. And I think, no, I know that's why today we can't really have a relationship for as being like, you know, real cordial. I speak if I run across him or whatever, but that's as far as it goes because I don't know no one that I don't. I guess I do know a lot of people. They probably won't ever say it, but their action says it. But he would tell me that I deserved to be molested and raped by my dad, which should have told me a lot about him then. But again, coming from abuse, thinking that abuse is a form of love will always trip you up. No form of abuse is love. No form. Verbal, physical, emotional, mental, none of it. If a person is abusing you in any way, that is not love. It's exactly what it is, abuse. But I didn't understand that because, again, that's all I seen. That's all I knew. My mom stayed with men after they had did so many things. My sister and them, dad, I watched him beat on my mom. He made my mom break her leg. Like, and she stayed. She had 3 kids by this man. I did too, by the way. 3 kids by my first husband. And so it was a cycle. It was a cycle. that I did not know how to break. And it only got worse. Pregnant and all. He would fight on me, pregnant and all. And I wouldn't fight back. I think that's the biggest thing that caused so much more pain, because I didn't fight back. Because I was a fighter. But I ended up pregnant by this man, and all I thought about was, I got to protect my baby. I got to protect her. And I didn't fight back. And by me not fighting back, I think it only made matters worse. It made matters worse. He would leave and he would lock me in the house. Couldn't get out. I would try to leave, couldn't leave. Unless I will get smart too, shit. I will let the garage all the way up and run out of it when I let it down to get out. That's the only way I was able to get out the house when I was trying to get away. But he would always find a way, and I would always end back up there. And that's where I stop at. We will continue the conversation on next Saturday. I'm grateful for all who's tuned in, who may come across these videos and watch them. Like, share, subscribe to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow me, share, um, ask questions if need be. But just know, no form of abuse is love. And if that's what you're used to, seeing and being a part of, just know that that's a lie. Abuse is not love. I thank you all for walking and following me on this journey. I appreciate you all, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and your weekend, and have a blessed and prosperous week. Bye for now. Love you, Exhale, Breathe family.